Good evening, Facebook friends. It's me, Nathan. Welcome to episode 10 of the Sons of the Republic radio show. I hope that all of you are well and that you're staying sane in these crazy times we're living in. Sorry I haven't been on the air for quite a while now. It's probably been at least a couple weeks. But I've had a lot going on in my personal life, so I haven't really been able to join all of you and update you on the things that are going on around our state and around our nation at this time. But I wanted to do a show tonight to kind of update you on some of the things that I've been hearing and to give my perspective on the events of the day. Needless to say, it's a very crazy, insane time for all of us here in the States. We continue to see so many outrages, so many infringements on our liberty that sometimes it's hard to know where to start. So I guess I'll begin with the most recent event that occurred, which is the presidential debate that took place earlier this week. I'm sure most of you either saw the whole debate or you've watched some clips by now, and you know that it was unlike any other presidential debate that we've seen in our lifetime. Some of you may have been shocked, some of you may have been saddened, or even scared, terrified, concerned by what you saw. I guess it really wasn't totally unexpected to me. What I saw in the debate, because I have known for a while that the moderator, Chris Wallace, is a never-Trumper. He hates the president, and it wasn't surprising to me that President Trump had to be that aggressive, that assertive, to try to get his points across. It was very obvious to me that Chris Wallace was on the side of the Biden campaign, that he was trying to basically carry water for Joe Biden, to throw him softball questions and to try to put the president on the spot, to try to put him in a negative light. So while it was certainly unconventional, I don't feel disappointed, and I'm not upset by the way that President Trump conducted himself during the debate. He's never been a traditional politician. He's told us that from the very beginning. And he's not somebody who's going to let he's not going to let anyone give him shit or put him in a box. He's going to be heard one way or another. He's a businessman. He's a media personality. He's somebody who understands how to use media effectively to communicate, to get his points across, and he was going to do that regardless of what Chris Wallace and the Biden campaign wanted. And I'm glad he did, because these are things that the American people need to hear right now. They need to understand the truth about what's at stake in this election, and also about who Joe Biden really is, because a lot of people don't know. You'll talk to a lot of people and they think, it's Uncle Joe from Scranton, and he's running to, try to take us back to some kind of, I don't know, some type of 1960s I guess you'd call it 1960s a reality that never was, an idyllic reality where everybody gets along and everybody gets free shit, and we all sing Kumbaya and live happily ever after. And I think that is one of the reasons why the Democratic Party picked Joe Biden. He's there to keep particularly senior citizens, people who are part of the baby boomer generation, to keep them comfortable so that they feel comfortable casting their vote for the Democratic ticket. And the reality is that Joe Biden is senile. He's in cognitive decline, as I've said before. He was never a particularly good politician or policymaker, lawmaker for the 47 years that he was in government. But he has a folksy shtick or charm that is useful to them, to the Democrats, to keep people from those older generations comfortable, so they're not scared away by the radicalism of the far left of the party, that's where Kamala Harris comes from. And I know many commentators have said this. Mark Levin, Michael Savage, Rush Limbaugh have all said the same thing, that, within 6 to 9 months, Kamala Harris will be president. If Joe Biden is elected, he's not going to last. He's not going to fill out a whole term. And I think that was pretty clear when you look. All you have to do is look at him. He looks like death warmed over. I mean, he's not all there mentally. He doesn't have the stamina to actually do the job of president. But he knows what his job is. His job is to try to win over enough moderate people, senior citizens, etc., to carry the Democratic ticket across the finish line. And then once he's served his purpose, he'll be brushed aside, and Kamala Harris will be the president, and the far left of the Democratic Party would then be in the driver's seat to implement their radical socialist agenda. So that's not news to many of us. It's pretty clear from the hysterical reaction of the lying press that President Trump did a lot better in that debate than what they expected, which is why they're now calling for either no more debates, or they're calling for new debate rules. They want to have a mute button so that the moderator can silence the president when he insists on communicating certain points. And I know the president has already tweeted and said he's not going to put up with that. And I say good for him. I say good for him, because these moderators that are picked by the Presidential Debates Commission, they're all leftists. I mean, this new guy, I think his name is Steve Scully, is going to be the moderator for the next one. He's a guy who actually worked. He worked as an intern for Joe Biden in Washington early on in his career. So, I mean, which side do you think he's going to favor? He's not impartial any more than Chris Wallace was this time around. These things are all set up, and they're doing their job, what they've been told to do, which is to make the president look bad, to try to paint him as a racist and a bigot, and to try to give people the impression that he only cares about wealthy people, when the truth is that the Democratic Party is the party of the uber rich now. It doesn't do anything to help working people. So it's a powerful weapon that the Democrats have with their monopoly over these mainstream media outlets, and they are trying to use that to maximum advantage right now. So I don't think the president is going to allow them to get away with that. He's a fighter, and he's going to continue to fight for what he believes in, and for the ideas, the values, the policies that he feels are best for the country. And more power to him. I mean, that's great. I wish I could say the same about the rest of the Republican Party, because I'm disgusted, and I've said it before many times. I'm very disgusted by the majority of the politicians in the Republican Party. There are a few that are good, that are patriots, that are working hard to try to make a difference, but they are, I'd say a small fraction of the Republican Party as a whole. And I place a lot of blame on them for us being at this point where we are here in America right now, where we are basically on the brink of civil war. And had they had more intestinal fortitude, had they fought the way that Trump fights decades ago, maybe we wouldn't be here now, So, yes, I blame the Democratic Party for sure for allowing the hard left to take over and allowing their party to be, co-opted by communists, socialists. But the Republican Party, they've got a lot of blame for what we are seeing right now. And, the stakes are so high at this point with everything that's going on. We need President Trump now more than we ever did, because we need a strong leader who believes in the country is founded, who believes in the American form of government and way of life, to lead us through all of these crises that we're undergoing right now. So I'm 100% behind the president. We need him for another 4 years. I wish we could have him longer than that, really. But he's not going to be able to do it alone. I mean, he needs all of us behind him. He needs He needs more patriots in the Republican Party to be on board and pushing to implement his agenda. But, we're just over a month out now from the election, and nobody knows what is going to happen November 3rd. I don't know. You don't know. I don't think anybody in this country really knows what's going to happen. But the theme for tonight's episode is Event Horizon. And the reason that I chose that theme is because we all know that we are on the threshold of a historical inflection point, of a major turning point in the history of this country, whichever way the election goes. And it's the most significant turning point, I would argue, since the election of 1860, when Abraham Lincoln was elected. And that's actually what led to the first Civil War in this country, when the Democrats didn't want to give up their slaves. They didn't want to allow the institution of chattel slavery to end, and the southern states decided to secede, and we fought a war over that cost over 700,000 lives. So it's definitely a little, more than a little ironic, some of the historical parallels between that time and this time. Once again, we've got a radicalized Democrat Party that wants to preserve their power and their privileges at the expense of, the common man and woman. And we see by their actions, not just their words, but their actions, that they will stop at nothing to retake power and to ensure that there is never another Republican president, that this becomes a one-party country, one-party society, that they exercise total control over. Because that is what they would be pushing to create should the Biden-Harris ticket win, honestly. So, yeah, we all feel the weight of history, of these momentous events that we're all about to live through every day. Because even though you may not care about politics, as the old adage says, politics cares about you. And this is going to affect every single one of us, our children, and our grandchildren. Everybody's going to be affected by these events. And it's easy if you listen to the mainstream lying press enough. It's easy to get depressed, and it's easy to become discouraged by the propaganda that they spew when they try to convince you that you are part of a very small minority, that you're alone, that there's nothing you can do, it's futile to resist. It's the same thing we've seen for decades, but now it's on steroids. And now we can see very clearly that that there's really nowhere to run. There's no compromise. Oh, RJ wants to say hi.
Hi, guys. Talking to the militia people?
Yeah, talking to the patriots on here, yep, with my podcast. that was RJ, one of my stepsons there. But yeah, I think about that a lot. I think about how these things are going to impact all of my children. And I have several sons and daughters who are trying to get an education, trying to get a start in life. And when I think about that, then I understand why I have a responsibility to stand and fight against this tyranny that we see taking hold in our country. It becomes very clear, and I guess all of the trivial stuff, the frivolous stuff that we see all around us just kind of recedes into the background. It gives me perspective, and I'm resolute right now. I'm at the point where I'm at peace with myself, and I know what I believe in. I know that it's my time. I was put here at this time for a reason, as I've said before. And I know many of you feel the same way, that all of us were put here at this time for a reason, that we do have power, and that we can have an impact, and we can change history together. If we will just unite and work together, we can have that impact. And I still believe that. I don't care what BLM and Antifa are up to. They can all go to hell as far as I'm concerned. Because I think that our resolve, I think that the things that we believe in give us much more strength, much more power than those groups on the radical left. They're motivated by greed, they're motivated by hatred and rage, and a lust for power over other people. That's not what we're motivated by in the patriot movement. I mean, basically for us, it comes down to faith, family, and freedom, to put it simply. And all those things are on the line right now in this election and in the months and years to come, because this fight is going to be going on for years, regardless. The election, yeah, it's a major event, and it's going to have major consequences. But this fight's going to last for years. And we've got to have our minds right. We've got to have our priorities in order. And we've got to make a decision. Each of us has to make a decision that these things are worth fighting for, and that we are not going to stop fighting until victory is achieved. And I can honestly say tonight that I've made that decision, and I'm in this for the long haul. And I don't know what's going to come down the line. I know that the founding fathers many of them paid a very heavy price personally to create this nation. And many of our men and women in uniform have paid the ultimate price and have given their lives over the decades and centuries to preserve our freedoms. So, in order to honor their sacrifices over the past 240 plus years, each of us has a duty to step up right now in whatever way that may be. I mean, there are multiple theaters in this war. It's not all about, fighting and, people slugging it out in the streets. Yeah, there's the information war, there's the culture war. We have patriots. As I've said, not everybody in government is bad. There's some good elected officials who are fighting on our side in government. They're fighting from the inside. So we all have a role to play in this. And I hope that each one of you, if you haven't found your role in this yet, I urge you to do so. There's no better time than now, because we're about to enter the critical phase in all of this. So if you're not sure what to do, there's plenty of people out there who will help you. Will help you find your spot. Will help you find a role that you can play in the patriot movement to fight back against the communist left. I know some of you watching are from Michigan Home Guard. I've met so many great people in MHG, so many committed patriots from all walks of life who do something every day. They do something to advance the cause of freedom. And that's been an inspiration to me, and it's been a great source of comfort over these last dark months. I mean, the past 6 months have been really hard for all of us, especially here in Michigan with our insane, tyrannical governor and all of her unconstitutional decrees. But I can honestly say in Michigan Home Guard that our spirits are strong. Our spirits are high. We're not depressed. We're not intimidated by the left's actions. If anything, all it has done is it's made us more determined than ever to take the fight to the enemy within. And I know that's true for many other organizations, people in Stand Up Michigan, Unlock Michigan. You've seen all these political groups that have formed organically to try to fight back against some of this stuff. So there's a lot of reason for hope. There's a lot of reason for hope. We have to hold fast to the truth. And the truth is on our side, because we know the things that made this country great. We understand the values and the principles that made America great in the first place, and that could make it great again in the future if we restore them to their proper place in our society. And that's really the ultimate goal of all of us who are part of this movement, is to effect the restoration of the United States to make it once again a land of freedom and opportunity for everyone, regardless of race or ethnicity or religion. None of that stuff matters. It's our belief in those, those core values and principles that bind all of us together in this. And that's what's going to see us through to the end of this thing. And the left doesn't have that. All they have is lies and their hatred for this country, their hatred for all of us as patriots, and their rabid desire for power and wealth for themselves. So, it's going to be, there are going to be interesting times for all of us ahead in this, but I think a lot of people that were fence sitters in the past, people who were worried about their jobs, who stayed quiet and tried to ride things out, I think a lot of those people are coming around now to our point of view, and they're understanding I don't have anywhere to run, and if I want to preserve my freedom and my way of life for me and my family, I'm going to have to stand up and fight. I think a lot of people are reaching that decision point right now. Hey, Mike, I'm glad you could tune in. Mom, I know you guys are already committed to this, and you understand what's at stake. And the purpose of this program, as I said from the very beginning, was to give us a forum where we could inform people, educate people, share truth with them, and empower them to go out and make a difference. And I think that's true of all of us that are part of what is commonly called the alternative media now. Since the mainstream media is nothing but propaganda outlets at this point. So we have an important role to play there, but it's I can't thank all of you enough, because I know that you guys share these videos with other people, and you allow us to spread this message a lot farther than where it would otherwise go. So I want to say thank you to all of you for doing that. We could not do what we do without you, and I still hope that I can find somebody who can be a regular co-host with me, because even though I can fill an hour by myself, I think the discussion is much richer and a lot more lively with a co-host. So I'm talking to some people about that, and I hope that I'll be able to have an announcement on that soon, about a new co-host to replace Joseph. I still have not heard from him, unfortunately. I wish him and his family well. I certainly hope that that he and his family were not, threatened or harmed in any way because of his participation in the program. There is an element of risk always in confronting the left, and they definitely try to threaten and harm our people a lot, and I hope that is not the case, that did not happen. So if you see this, Joseph, I hope you and your family are okay, and I don't have any hard feelings towards you. for whatever reason you're not able to continue doing the show, I understand, man. You've got to take care of your family and yourself. So, but I'm confident we'll find somebody who is a committed patriot and has some perspective, some ideas to share as a co-host on this program. So, yeah, looking forward. Since we only have a few months to go to the election, I've been networking with some new friends recently who are very, very focused on personal preparedness, family preparedness, and there's a lot of people that are really getting into food storage, into having certain key items like generators, flashlights. Obviously, there's a huge run on firearms and ammunition. There's almost nothing on the shelves anymore in Michigan. So, but I've talked to some people who've been into this stuff for quite a while, and maybe I can have one of those individuals on this show soon, and just to share some basic tips for how to prepare yourself and your family for these uncertain times. Excuse me, that are coming up here in the weeks and months ahead, because I'm trying to see to that myself, and I know many of you are as well. It's a prudent thing to do, because some of the signs that I'm seeing in the economy are very troubling. I know just this week we had another 830,000 Americans sign up for unemployment benefits. We're seeing major corporations institute mass layoffs. Disney is laying off 28,000 workers in their theme parks. Even Goldman Sachs, which is a big Wall Street firm, they're laying off many of their analysts and executives. So there's definitely some signs that we could very well see further deterioration in the economy as time goes on. And I mentioned on a previous program that Dr. Savage, who many of you no doubt listen to, predicted on his show that within 6 months of the election, we wouldn't recognize the country that we're living in, that our standard of living will greatly decline because of the damage that's been done to the economy and to our currency. He estimates that the value of the dollar has already declined about 20% from what it was, before the COVID pandemic. And I'd say that's true. I don't do a lot of the shopping for our family, but I did recently take a trip to Walmart, and just going through those grocery aisles, I mean, I remember the prices of some of the items, what they were before the pandemic and what they are now. And there's a huge difference. Major increases on a lot of staple items. Just to give an example, that cheap box, it's like a yellowish orange box of hamburgers that you used to be able to get at Walmart for $6.99. That is now $10.25 for the same box of hamburgers. So that's just a little anecdote to give you an idea about how significant these food price increases are that we're all seeing. And unfortunately, for most of us, our incomes are not keeping pace. We all have to have food. We have to, pay our rent or mortgage payment, pay our utility payments. I think there was a recent study that was done just this past week where they're saying that millions of people are behind on their utility bills, their electric bills, water bills, sewer bills. So, as much as I would like to say that we've turned the corner and, that happy times will be here again in the near future, I'd be lying if I said that. I know the president is trying to do everything that he can to restart the economy, to stimulate the economy, but I think it's going to be a long road, particularly here in Michigan. I think we've got a long road to recovery over here. And, if it's anything like the last depression, that lasted 10 years. I certainly hope it's not that long, but I think it's prudent at this time to start shifting our behaviors to plan and prepare for a worst case scenario. So it's not being an alarmist, it's just reading the tea leaves and taking appropriate action. But, if President Trump is reelected, maybe he can start bringing some of these jobs back that were shipped out to China. I know that would be a huge benefit to us here in Michigan to bring more manufacturing back here. We have to start making things here again and stop depending on countries that hate us to supply us with our essentials. So that could be a huge benefit economically if that were to happen. I certainly don't believe that would happen under a Biden administration. I don't believe that they would do anything to bring manufacturing back. I think their policies would cause more companies to leave the country, if anything. So that's another thing that's at stake, is our economic future is at stake in this election too, and our ability to continue to feed our families, to keep a roof over their heads, is in serious jeopardy with this. So we all need to be aware of that. We all need to make sure that we turn out and vote on election day for sure. But regardless of what happens, election night, many of you may have heard some of these reports. There's a Democrat-sponsored think tank called the Transition Integrity Project, where they're wargaming various scenarios for the upcoming election, to try to basically plan what their responses would be in each scenario. And one of the plans was actually a plan for civil war, civil unrest and conflict after the election. They are already planning to basically hold the election open for weeks to months. The result of the election could be in doubt for that long because of all these Democrat governors like we have here in Michigan who have instituted all this mail-in voting. Well, they're saying, well, Trump could win. It would look like he won election night because most Republican voters are going to vote in person because we don't trust the mail-in balloting. I'd say that's probably true. I agree with them on that. I'm not going to vote by mail, and neither should any of you. because we can't trust the postal service and whoever's going to be counting the votes on the other end to handle our ballots properly. They just found a bunch of military absentee ballots in a ditch the other day. So that doesn't inspire confidence. I would urge all of you don't use the mail-in balloting. But when you're talking about Democratic voters, a large percentage of them are going to vote by mail. So there will be millions of these mail-in ballots, and they will not all be counted as of election night. So that, I found that quite disturbing. We should not be trying to we should not be trying to implement any changes to our election system at this time. In this election, we don't have time to properly properly test and implement those changes before the election. But the Democrats are doing this for political reasons because it's something they've done before. I mean, they stole a Senate seat in Minnesota. I remember when that happened back in the 2010 elections. They stole a Senate seat from Norm Coleman and handed it to Al Franken. There was all kinds of shenanigans that were going on where, boxes of ballots were found. Oh, look, I found a box of ballots and they're all for the Democrat, big surprise. So you can imagine they're just scaling this up now to run this scam nationwide. There was a court decision by a Democrat judge here in Michigan saying that, they can basically hold the election open in Michigan for 14 days past election night, continue to count even ballots that are postmarked late. They still want to count all those ballots. The Democrats want to count ballots that don't have a signature or the signature doesn't match, the signature on the voter registration card. They're pushing for all that. They're pushing to institutionalize voter fraud with all this. So I think that's the thing, just speaking of the election, that is the thing that gives me the most concern, because if that happens, if it looks like Trump won, and then there's all these mail-in ballots coming in from all over the place, and who knows which are valid, who knows which are invalid. That just reinforces the point that I made on a show a long time ago, that the losing side in this thing is not going to accept the election result, because who knows whether we'll ever know the true result of the election. They've thrown so much uncertainty in with this that it's possible that we may never know, unless it's decisive. If it's a landslide one way or the other, then okay. But if it's close, the way that it looks that it could be, we may never truly know the result of the 2020 presidential election. So that's something we all have to be prepared for, and it's the fault of the Democrats for pushing for these changes. Everybody should be, I understand certain people are disabled. If they request an absentee ballot, great. Military ballots, they vote, absentee, they have to if they're deployed overseas. I understand that. But the rest of us, we should all be showing up. We can show up and take 10, 15 minutes to go to a polling place and cast her vote.
Not really.
So that is probably the most concerning thing about this whole election, in my view, is the mail-in balloting and the uncertainty that it is going to be caused as a result of that. I think it's going to be pandemonium come, November 4th, 5th, 6th, when this thing is still up in the air. You've got both sides possibly claiming victory. We know that the left will have their shock troops out in the street at that point. That BLM and Antifa will be there to be the muscle in the street. And, things could go to a whole nother level at that point. So we all need to be prepared for that. We can't allow them to steal the election, for sure. Because if they steal the election, they're coming for the Bill of Rights, they're coming for the Constitution. It's all, it's game on. They're coming for the whole enchilada at that point. So, yeah, I'm very concerned about that, and I'm trying to use the remaining time that we have, as short as it is, in a productive way to try to inform people and educate people through this outlet, for sure, and try to convince people, hey, if you're an old-time Democrat, we don't have a beef with you. And we would welcome you. We would welcome your support. Think about what you're doing. You may not like President Trump, but, please consider voting for him in this election, because it's the best thing not for the Democratic Party, but for your country, because this is your country too. I'll try to reach anybody I can through this medium and others, but I'm also, at the same time, I want to prepare myself and my family and my friends for what we could be facing next month, when all this comes to a head, So it's just to shift gears a little bit and give you a little bit of an update on the Michigan front. I've got a friend down in Calhoun County who actually received a letter. He received a letter from his school district where his daughter attends school, saying that apparently there was a student there at the school that tested positive for COVID, and the school district is ordering him to keep his daughter at home, that she has to basically serve out 14 days house arrest, or quarantine as they like to call it, because of the public health orders that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has issued. This little girl, he had her tested. She tested negative for COVID. They don't care. They are keeping his daughter at home, under basically what is a form of house arrest, and justifying that with these public health orders. He's furious, obviously, over the whole thing. And I know he's not alone in that. I think that I've heard other stories. This is happening all over. This is happening all over the state, where families, parents are being treated this way, are having their rights impinged upon by these bureaucrats in the state and in these school districts. And I've actually talked to quite a few people who are so fed up when they're hearing about this stuff that they're actually pulling their kids out of these public schools, and they're forming what are called homeschool pods. So they've actually got certain moms who are, volunteering, stepping forward to instruct not only their children, but, children of friends, family members, that sort of thing, people at their church, whatever. But the good news in all of that is that the public schools are losing students, and that means that they're losing control over those young minds, so they can't fill them full of their leftist bullshit anymore. That's kind of the silver lining in all this, is a lot of people are just getting to the point where they are so fed up that they're pulling their kids, and they're either sending them to a private school or they're, finding some sort of homeschooling solution right now. But that's how far that this state has gone with, manipulating people and controlling people in their private lives right now. Whitmer just extended the state of emergency again. We all knew she was going to extend that emergency up through the election, and it looks like that's exactly what she's going to do. They're talking about implementing more restrictions on people and businesses in the Upper Peninsula right now. A lot of people are really upset over there because, they can't afford that up there. A lot of these little, restaurants and bars up there, they can't afford to take a hit like that again. And she continues to refuse to show us the science, show us her reasoning behind all this. Because those of us who pay attention know there isn't really a reason. It's all political. And this witch is doing all this and hoping to shift the blame for this onto President Trump. She's hoping that he'll take the blame for this. She saw that during the debate. Remember how many times you saw Joe Biden bringing up the COVID pandemic and this figure they keep pushing. Oh, there's 206,000 people that have died from COVID. No, that's not true. Actually, according to the recent report that came out from the CDC, there are about, it's probably a little over 190,000 people who died with COVID. But they didn't just have COVID. These are people, elderly people, on average, 2.6 serious comorbidities, which means they had other diseases, illnesses, in addition to having the coronavirus. The other 9,000, yes, those people died solely of coronavirus. So they're playing with these statistics right now, and they're trying to keep harping on that number of deaths, which is inaccurate. And then they point the finger of blame at the president and say it's his fault that over 200,000 people are dead from the coronavirus. That is their number one smear campaign that they're using in this election to try to get President Trump out of office. And it's total bullshit. It's total bullshit. But only those of us who are awake and who pay attention to these things know that. The media is not going to tell people the truth about all that. So when you guys are out there and you talk to people who are Democrats or people who are thinking about voting for Joe Biden, be sure to correct them on that and explain to them, hey, the CDC said there's only 9,000 people that died solely from coronavirus. These other people, most of them are in their 70s or 80s. Most of them have serious comorbidities, heart disease, COPD, diabetes, take your pick, cancer, whatever. It's all a scam, and it's lies that have been constructed specifically for this purpose, as a smear campaign to get the president out of office so the left can take total control. But I'm sure we'll see more of that in the next couple debates that are coming up. And I know we've got the vice presidential debate coming up, I believe, in a week. And I hope Mike Pence really goes at Kamala Harris hard and calls her out, exposes her for who she is, because she is a radical San Francisco leftist. She's a megalomaniac who is just as power hungry as anybody you've ever met. And we don't ever want that woman to be president of the United States. I'll tell you that. Because, Biden would have nothing on her. She is, she's got a record of doing anything, including sleeping with other politicians who she needed help from to advance her career. She would not bat an eye about, having lockdowns, having mask mandates, sending out the ATF to try to take our guns. Try to, because we're not ever going to let that happen, are we? But the best public service that Mike Pence could do would be to expose that woman to the American people for who she is, because she's a dyed-in-the-wool leftist. She believes in the entire socialist agenda, just like Bernie and AOC and the rest of them. So I hope that happens in that debate. I hope that people's eyes are open to the truth, because she's the one that would be president, not Biden. Biden might be president in a few months, and then she's taking control after that, and that's when you'd really see the far left just steamrolling everybody with their insane communist agenda. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. But I think that's all the topics that I had to cover tonight. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to thank all of you for continuing to support this program, continuing to share our videos, and to share our Facebook page. I don't know how much longer that we will continue to have a Facebook page, because with the new guidelines that just went into effect at Facebook, we could very well be deleted from Facebook. I've got so many patriot, conservative, libertarian friends who have already been deleted or who have had their Facebook pages or groups purged. The left is using their control of the big tech corporations to purge patriots and patriot organizations from these platforms. So there are alternatives out there, but I'm just warning you guys now. You might have to tune in somewhere else at some point. And I've been exploring some of those alternatives, and I would definitely, of course, let all of you know where to find us if we have to move at that point to another platform. I'm already on. I'm on Parler. I'm on MeWe. I've got a content creator account over at Brighteon.com, which is a free speech video hosting service. BitChute is another one. So many of us are very busy right now. We're backing up our content from our Facebook accounts, and we're getting established on other platforms that actually believe in the First Amendment right to free speech. So, if any of you guys are out there, if you want to connect with me on Parler, my username there is at Nathan Silva 1979. So it's just the at symbol, my first name Nathan, last name Silva, and then 1979. If you search for that username on Parler, you can follow me there. You can connect with me on that platform. I don't remember my MeWe one offhand, but I can post it. I can post a link to my MeWe profile as well on the show page here if you guys want to connect with me on that platform. So, yeah, it's good stuff. It needs to happen because these tech companies are out of control. And, speaking as somebody who works in the computer industry and who has been part of the industry for so many years now, this is not what computing was ever intended for. As it was not intended to be a tool of tyranny. It was intended to be a tool that could empower all of mankind to reach for greater achievements. And unfortunately, right now, it's been co-opted and twisted by people like Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook and Jack Dorsey at Twitter. These big tech CEOs who are all big Democrat donors and who are really empowering the left right now with their platforms. So we need to take the power back from them right now. That's very important. So with that said, I hope all of you guys are staying safe, and I wish all of you well. Have a great night. God bless all of you, and God bless the Republic. Bye-bye.